Shalom, brothers and sisters. Adam here with Parable of the Vineyard YouTube. Hey, the fall feasts of the Most High are here. They're upon us. Can you feel it? Are you excited? Some people are asking, when is the Feast of Trumpets or Yom Teruah? Some people celebrated last week, some people celebrated last night, and some people are going to celebrate tonight, which is September 26th. What is the deal? I wanted to come on here really quickly, not to talk about any other calendars, but wanted to share with you why I'm celebrating tonight, the evening of September 26th. Let's get into some scripture. It says here, Psalm 81:3, blow up the trumpet or shofar in the new moon in the time appointed on our solemn feast day. This can only be pointing to Yom Teruah because it's the only festival that's on the first day of the month. So, as you see here in the new moon. Now, here's where the discrepancy arises. You'll see here, this is a moon phase calendar, and you'll see here on the 25th, last night, it says here new moon. Now, that's how the modern Gregorian calendar or modern day calendars would calculate a new moon. They call it the blank moon or the dark moon or the conjunction moon, and that happened last night. However, I'd like to share with you by scripture why a lot of us are doing it with the sliver, the first visible crescent, and I want to share that with you today. But just real quick, a couple other scriptures. Psalm 104:19, he appointed the moon for seasons. The sun knows his going down. Just to kind of share also with you why I still feel led to use the moon for the months. If we look at this here in Strong's, here he appointed the moon for seasons. If you look at that word seasons, it is the Hebrew word for moed or moedim, the same word we see in Leviticus 23 where the Most High says, these are my feasts, these are my seasons, these are my moedim. You'll see here this is for the sacred season, the set feast, the appointed time, the appointed meeting. That's what these feast days are. They're appointments with the Most High. Also, the book of Sorak, which is also known as Ecclesiasticus, this was included in the Apocrypha section of the 1611 KJV, the 1599 Geneva, and many other canons throughout the world. Those of us that have the modern-day 66 book canon, these have been removed. However, for a long time, this book was considered scripture. Chapter 43, verses 6 through 8 says, he made the moon also to serve in its season, to mark the times, and to be an everlasting sign. From the moon comes the sign for the feast days, a light that wanes when it has reached the full. The month is named for the moon, increasing marvelously in its phases, an instrument of the hosts on high, shining forth in the firmament of heaven. So here in Ecclesiasticus, which this was written 2nd century BC, roughly a couple hundred years before our Messiah showed up on the scene, this is how it was being used, and we see that the Messiah never argued with the calendar that was used at the time of his ministry. But nevertheless, there is a passage in Jubilee 6, which a lot of people would use to say, hey, the moon comes in 10 days too soon, so therefore we don't use it. That's for another time, but I would ask you to maybe just to read that one more time, and you'll actually see that it's because of the 10-day difference, people don't properly calculate it. They go wrong as to the seasons. So anyways, let's keep going. So back to which day is the new moon. Is the new moon what the modern-day calendar say, or is the new moon the sliver? And I'd like to share with you the book of Enoch, which I believe is scripture. This is chapter 73 of Enoch, and this is talking about the laws of the moon. So after this law, I saw another law dealing with a smaller luminary, which is named the moon. Here in verse 4, it says, and thus she rises. So this is how she rises. And her first phase in the east comes forth on the 30th morning. So at the end of the month, transitioning into the new month. So what we're seeing here is Enoch is explaining the transitioning from the end of the month to the beginning of the month. So, and thus is how she rises, and her first phase in the east comes forth on the 30th morning, and on that day she becomes visible. So it's something that you can see, as opposed to what we're talking about here, the blank or conjunction moon. And again, in no way, shape, or form am I trying to belittle anyone else's calendar or how they celebrate it. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm excited that people just want to celebrate the feast days of the Most High, whether they celebrated it last week, yesterday, today. It's of no consequence to me. I believe that they're my brothers and sisters. I'm simply answering questions why people are like, why are you celebrating today? People celebrated yesterday, or people celebrate last week. So I want to share why I have the conviction of celebrating it tonight with the first visible new moon. So, on that day she becomes visible, the moon, and constitutes for you the first phase of the moon on the 30th day together with the sun in the portal where the sun rises. So this is showing you the transition from the 30th day, so the end of the month, to the beginning of the month. And the one half of her goes forth by a seventh part, and her whole circumference is empty without light, with the exception of 1/7 part and a 14th part of light. So that's what this is describing here, this 1/14 part of light, that little sliver. Oh, where are we? And okay, so then here in Enoch 77, it says, and when the moon rises, which we just got done reading of how she rises, which is that little sliver. And when the moon rises, 1/14 part appears in heaven. The light becomes full in her. On the 14th day, she accomplishes her light. So this is telling you what a full moon looks like. On the 14th day of the lunar month, she is full. And 15 parts of light are transferred to her till the 15th day, when her light is accomplished, according to the sign of the year, and she becomes 15 parts. And the moon grows by the addition of 14 parts. And this is, now it's going to describe the waning. We'll just kind of skip that, how she wanes. And here we go, verse 12. And on the first day she is called the new moon, for on that day light rises upon her. And we just read in the previous chapter 73 of what constitutes rising, which is that first visible sliver. She becomes full moon exactly on the day when the sun sets in the west, and from the east she rises at night, and the moon shines the whole night through till the sun rises over against her, and the moon is seen over against the sun. And that's, if anybody has ever sighted the new moon sliver, she's visible with the sun as the sun sets, and I'll actually show you a visual of that using the stellarium in just a moment. All right, verse 14. On the side whence the light of the moon comes forth, there again she wanes, till all the light vanishes, and all the days of the month are at an end, and her circumference is empty, void of light. So here it just confirms that when the moon is empty, blank, that constitutes the last day of the month. And so, again, a lot of calendars specifically start the month on this moon right here. But Enoch just got done telling us that this constitutes actually the last day of the month. I'll read it again for you just in case you missed that. On the side whence the light of the moon comes forth, there again she wanes till all the light vanishes, and all the days of the month are at an end. So this is explaining the end of the month. And her circumference is empty, void of light. So this actually would be the last day of the month. I want to show you really quickly stellarium and what this actually looks like and what Enoch was just describing. Let me just change the settings real quick on the screen share, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here and what we're looking for tonight. There it is, stellarium. Okay. So this is September 26th. And you'll see the sun begins to set in the west, and the moon sets with her. That's what Enoch was explaining. And as the sun sets, as it gets a little dark, Yah willing, we'll be able to see this little sliver moon. So if you're looking to sight the new moon tonight, just look in the west where the sun sets, and as it gets darker, Yah willing, we'll be able to see that little moon sliver. That begins the month according to the book of Enoch, which I know some contend is not scripture. That's for another time. I do believe it's scripture, and that's why just sharing why I feel led to celebrate the way we're celebrating now. So let me switch this over back to there we go. And I just want to share one more thing with you, and we'll finish up today. All right. Last thing. Some people are like, oh, you can't celebrate the feast at all, or we need to sight the moon according to when Jerusalem sights the moon. I just want to share a couple scriptures with you. This is Messiah in Samaria sitting down with the woman at the well. John 4, verse 20, our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and you say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Because if you look at the Torah, it does say that these feasts should be celebrated in Jerusalem. But Messiah said, but Yahushua said unto her, woman, believe me, the hour comes when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. You worship you know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour comes, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and truth, for the Father seeks such to worship him. Elohim is a spirit, Elohim is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and truth. So what am I getting at here? Messiah himself said that, hey, the time's coming where when people worship him, they're not going to worship him in here or in Jerusalem, because they're going to be all over the four corners of the earth. So I feel led to go off the new moon based off of where I live, and where I live is in the Midwest of the United States. Also, 1 Corinthians 3:16, know you not that you are the temple of Elohim, and that the Spirit of Elohim dwells in you? So if the Spirit of Elohim is with us, he's with us where we are. So if we're in America, we can spot the new moon based off of where we are in America. That's just where I'm at this time. People would disagree. Hey, I disagree and love you. I'm just here to do what I feel like the Ruach is convicting me to do. Also, Matthew 18:20, for where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. So to conclude, all that to be said, this is why I'm celebrating tonight. Well, it depends on when you watch this, of course, but I'm recording this on September 26th it's still morning. So tonight, we're going to get together. We're going to blow some shofars when we see that moon, Yah willing. We're going to eat. We're going to sing. We're going to dance. We're going to talk about the Feast of Trumpets. And if you're watching this tonight, we'll have a live stream for y'all probably around 7:30 or so tonight for the Feast of Trumpets. So if you don't have any local fellowship, hopefully there'll be some fellowship for you online tonight. So September 26th at evening, sundown, we'll sight the new moon. It'll start the Feast of Trumpets. It's a one-day celebration. It'll be from the evening of tonight, the 26th, to the evening of the 27th. So if you're looking to keep the festival and keep it as a Sabbath as it's commanded, should probably not work tomorrow. And the last thing, it's kind of a Jewish man-made tradition to celebrate the Feast of Trumpets 2 days. However, you'll find it nowhere commanded in the scriptures to celebrate it 2 days, but it's just a one-day celebration. So with that, and if you want more on traditions of men, well, just open any of the Gospels of our Messiah, and he'll tell you how he feels about man-made traditions. So with that being said, blessings, shalom, and whenever you celebrate, or if you already celebrated, have an amazing Yom Teruah, and well, the rest of the fall festival season that is upon us now. So praise be to Yahuwah for sending his son, Messiah Yahusha, that we may have forgiveness and everlasting life for those that believe, and may we walk as he walked according to the commandments. Shalom and blessings.